Happy Saturday, everybody. Just wanted to make a quick video about something that I can definitely say I called. This is the moment in history where Tattooed Chef has indeed gone into bankruptcy. They have filed for bankruptcy protection, okay? That would explain why the stock sharply dropped after hours. And yeah, I mean, I hate to say I told you so to people who are into the chef, but I definitely saw this coming. The last video I made about Tattooed Chef had a picture of their logo basically being flushed down the toilet. So that's about what I thought of their financial situation as a company. A little bit of a refresher, though, on why. It may have been pretty clear that this was coming. Okay. So, one sign to look out for is that in spite of the revenue growth taken on its own might seem great, okay? And I think a lot of people bought in on the basis of this revenue growth. They said, oh, well, the profit's not there, but the revenue's growing, and they just need to scale up. Now, it is true that in order to achieve profit, they would need to scale up, and I'll show you how you might reach that conclusion momentarily. But I want to point out that the revenue growth was paired with massive dilution. So the revenue growth almost doesn't matter, really, if your share of that growing revenue is declining because of 200% dilution, 100% dilution in a couple of these years, right? Now, the bottom line has also been massively negative on a per share basis. This company just does not know how to make money. Now, they had gross margins for a couple of years that were in what could be an acceptable range for a scaled food business. Now, the idea behind these plant-based food companies, I would imagine, is to replace or compete with meat-based food companies, right? They're basically saying, here's an alternative, right, to a frozen food that has meat, okay? Well, that is an interesting idea, but the problem is that this alternative is still, and I think that the financial performance of the companies in the meatless space, I think it's starting to bear this out, that it's really still rather niche, okay? That there is not as much mass market demand. Like, yeah, sure, there's I don't know what the percentage is. I mean, maybe that would be some good due diligence to do, but I don't think the actual percentage of people who are identify as vegetarian or vegan is necessarily high enough to support the kind of scale that these companies would need to be profitable with these sort of thin gross margins. Now, it doesn't help them that their gross margins fell into the crapper. Now, if they had a lot of scale and they had consistently been at, like, say, the 15% level and had this drop, I would be saying, hey, their normal margins are in, the mid-teens. This is probably just temporary. They'll probably get back to it. They can square the circle. But that isn't the case with this company. There is no track record to speak of, okay? Now, Tyson Foods is many times the size and scale of Tattooed Chef. And, they sell some stuff in the frozen aisle as well, but it's all meat-based, right? So the company that they're, sort of trying to compete with, in a sense, is a company like Tyson, right? They're trying to be an alternative, basically. So people like, oh, our stuff is just as tasty as meat. Well, Tyson, low teens gross margins, but they have the scale to make that work, okay? Because they're doing 50 plus billion in revenue and growing, by the way. Like, I'm seeing, 9 out of 10 years displayed, they have top line growth. That's pretty impressive for a company the size and scale of Tyson Foods. And since they've got the scale to where they're showing a net positive on a per share basis, that means every single additional dollar of revenue trickles a little something down to this bottom line, okay? So for them, revenue growth is actually accretive to shareholders. But without the scale that Tyson has and the efficiency, you need higher gross margins to even have a seat at the table and have, a chance of profitability. Okay? That's the point, right? You can't, if you don't have high gross margins, you have to make up for it in volume in order to make up for your overhead. You just can't overcome it unless you have a scaled and efficient operation like Tyson Foods. So this was doom. I think it's been pretty predictably doomed for a while. I can't believe that even up to a few weeks ago, I still saw people holding out hope that Ttcf was going to turn things around. It just blows my mind. And this is what happens when you just chase, blindly chase, innovation, excitement, and revenue growth without really looking at if they have a path towards actually making a profit. At a certain point, companies have to have positive cash flow. Period. Okay? Because eventually people will get skittish, right? And they'll sell, and you can't just rely on overinflated share prices and share issuance to keep you afloat for all eternity. That's not to say that, some companies that maybe at some point looked like Tattooed Chef in their early days, it's not to say some haven't made it, but this is a risky bet to make. And if you had bought it at its highs, even if they did end up making it, the return probably wouldn't have been great thanks to all of the dilution. So that being said, Tattooed Chef filing for bankruptcy, it's well deserved, and I hope that all of you watching, if you were in this, that you didn't lose too much and it wasn't too expensive a lesson to learn. But I hope you can take away something from the experience. And if you weren't a buyer of Tattooed Chef, but maybe were on the fence about it, case in point as to why you made the right call by not putting your money in. Let me know below if you ever had any shares of Tattooed Chef. If you bought it, when you bought it, if you sold it, what price you sold it at, how much you made or lost. I'd be interested to know that in the comments below. Hop on Discord, link will be in the description. Like and subscribe if you're into that sort of thing. And by the way, memberships and whatnot, they are a go as far as I'm aware on the channel. I've pressed all the buttons and whatnot, so join if you like badges and emojis and all that. And if you like to have your comments and your things that you say a little bit more highlighted in our live streams and such, well, hey, that's a good way to get my attention. I'm really cheap. It's like 99 cents a month. All right, take it easy, guys.